If your formulas or pivot tables aren't grouping things the way they should, inconsistent text is one of the most common reasons why, even when everything looks fine to your eyes. In this video, I'll show you how to fix inconsistent text so your data actually works the way you expect. If you appreciate this type of content, tap that like button. Here's an example. Say you've got descriptions listed as coffee, coffee with a capital C, coffee all caps, and coffe. To us, these all basically look the same. To Excel, they're 4 completely different values. Try to run a formula across them and it won't match. Build a pivot table on them, and instead of one clean category, you'll end up with slightly different ones that don't combine. The goal here isn't just to clean the text up, it's to make it consistent. As you see in this example, it grouped coffee, coffee with a capital C, and coffee, all caps, together. But coffe was grouped by itself, and coffee with extra invisible spaces was also grouped differently in the pivot table. First, let's remove any extra spaces with the trim function. The spaces are invisible to us, but they're enough to break a match in Excel completely, as we saw in our pivot table. Next, make the case consistent, all lowercase, all uppercase, well, proper case, which is camel case. So you can use Excel functions like lower, upper, or proper to get that done. Once you've done that, Excel will treat all of it the same way. Then there's the tricky part. Actual variations, like coffe instead of coffee. These are unique to your own data, so there's no single formula that catches them automatically. The simple fix is find and replace. But if you want something more scalable, you can build a mapping table instead. You get a separate tab where column A lists the incorrect versions and column B lists the correct label for each. Then in your working sheet, you can use the VLOOKUP function, use the column with your values, the mapping table's 2 columns, 2 to pull from that second column with the correct value you want, and false to look for exact matches. This will populate your data with the standardized version automatically. Now let's try that pivot table again. And there it is. Everything groups correctly now, because Excel is finally seeing one consistent value instead of 4 different ones. This is one of the simplest fixes in this whole series, but it makes a real difference in how reliable your data actually is. In the next video, we're talking about why splitting names is unreliable and how to handle it properly.